What happens at a case conference? In the Family Law Rules, Section 17, subsection 4, it tells you the purpose of a case conference. What I'm going to do is explain what your court day is going to look like. To start off with, you're going to get to the courthouse. Try to get there at least 30 minutes before your court case. I sometimes tell people even an hour so you get comfortable with the environment. It's already a nerve-wracking day. You're going to enter the courthouse. You'll see security. They'll search your bag and yourself as well. It's very similar to airport security. Now, once you get past the security, you'll either see a security desk, so someone at the front, maybe like a reception area, who will tell you where to go, what courtroom, or you'll see a paper on the wall, or there's maybe going to be a table with different papers, or a TV. So you'll look for your name and the time, and it'll tell you what courtroom number to go to. So you'll get to that courtroom, and about 10-15 minutes before, the doors might be open, sometimes even 5 minutes before, and you can quietly peep your head in to see if they're ready to have you check in. Once you do that, you're going to walk in the courtroom. You will see what looks like it does on TV. You'll see at the very back, when you're facing the courtroom, a section for the judge up on a platform. Then you'll see a little bit of a lower level. You'll see court staff. Typically, there's 3 people. There's a court reporter who's going to be typing up and transcribing what's happening in the court case. You'll see a court clerk or a registrar, someone that's doing the administrative aspect of it and helping the judge. And then you'll see a court officer. So this person is someone walking around and going to announce when the judge is coming in. And then these roles may differ and they might be shared amongst the court clerks and the court staff. That's pretty much how it would go. So once you approach the court clerk, you're going to say that you want to check in. Then they'll ask you for your first and last name. You'll check in for your party. They will either tell you to have a seat at the back or at the front right away if your case is about to start, or they'll tell you to come outside. So if you bring family and friends, make sure you do advise the court clerk. The reason being is the other side might have an issue with it, them being present, and might ask for your family or friend to not be in the courtroom while the proceeding is happening. After your name is called, so you'll either be outside when your name is called or in the room when your name is called, you'll approach the bench. You're going to bow when you enter in. And this is just out of respect. It's a tradition that we've been doing. So you'll sit on the left-hand side if you're facing the court itself. You'll stand on the left side if you're the applicant and the right side if you're the respondent. If you're unsure or if the respondent's already seated in the left side, just ask the court clerk and they'll just tell you where to sit. They're very helpful. Now, what happens when the judge is coming in? Usually the judge will knock on the door or the court officer will announce that the judge is coming. When the judge is coming, you stand up out of respect, and when the judge enters, you're going to bow to the judge. The judge will also bow to you. The court officer will then tell you to have a seat. So once you're seated, the court case is actually starting. A court reporter or the registrar will announce exactly what it is that's happening. They'll give a little bit of a blurb about what's going to happen in the court process and recording and just privacy issues, anything like that. The next thing is the judge is going to introduce themselves and say, the applicant, you can commence. You are going to do an opening statement. So in the opening statement, you're going to briefly outline what your position is, so your arguments, and then very briefly though, and then the other side is going to do the exact same thing. In your opening arguments, the first thing you want to do is say what your name is for the record. So traditionally we'd say last name and then our first initial. You're going to spell your last name for the court registrar and the court transcription. So that way they know exactly what your name is spelled like. Now, after this, the judge is going to have you do your arguments. So some judges will have you list all of your arguments. If you're the applicant, you go first. List them all out in one shot, and then the other side will go. Now, other judges will have you discuss one issue, so for example, child support, and then have the other person discuss child support, and they'll just go back and forth with the issues like that. The judge will advise you on how they want to proceed. Once you've given your arguments, and then the other side has been able to give their arguments, you will often have time for a reply, and you might be brief with your reply, or they might just skip it altogether. Following this, the judge will give their opinion on what they think should happen, their opinion on what would happen if you went to trial. Based on that information, you are going to then discuss with the other side. You can come to a settlement. Sometimes the judges will have you step outside for a few minutes in what's called a recess. So they'll hold the court down matter, hold the matter down. You'll step outside, discuss this with the other party, see what you can settle, and then come back in and the judge will have a consent. So if you can't do that and you can't come to a conclusion, the judge will then set the next steps. So the judge might make an order for disclosure. The judge will set the next date and identify any sort of opinions they might have so that you could think about this after. If you are trying to negotiate on the table on the spot, the judge might also let you do that. Depending on how much time they have, they might let you negotiate and do a settlement and a consent instead of having you step out the courtroom and step aside. There are a list of potential orders the judge can make. So when we say this, we say that you can ask the judge to make these orders at a case conference and they have the authority to do so. There's a list right here and it continues on in the family law rules.